Little possums! How are your ears doing? That was probably super fucking
Hope people
loud.
had that turned right up.
Yeah, the last podcast was so quiet. I'm going to turn this one all the way up.
Welcome to having no fucking hearing.
Yeah, good luck hearing it now.
This was a podcast, episode number 4 of Suck On It.
Was a podcast.
It wasn't.
Still a podcast?
It remained. Podcasts, they're timeless.
Things evolve,
Yeah.
but not podcasts.
Sometimes the intros feel like they're almost recorded on the same day as others, and you cover certain similar topics.
I'm repeating myself.
Yeah. This was a great conversation with Annelies about. Well, we invited her onto the podcast under the pretense that we're going to talk about fermentation and
Her business in fermentation.
Yeah.
We touched on it for about 30 seconds.
It's a beautiful symbiosis, though, when you go, hey, let's... And I was genuinely interested to talk about fermentation. But the cool thing was, Annelies came in with no agenda, didn't need... And that's the cool thing.
Not an obvious one, anyway.
No, that's right. That's right. Maybe I've already been subverted and I don't realise.
Maybe
that was the clever
Maybe
thing.
that's the next one.
Yeah.
The next time she comes in, she starts going, she's
Yeah.
friends with us now. She's, we're all like, oh yeah, she's pretty cool.
Next week, it's like, would you consider signing up for Scientology?
Yeah. Have you heard of The Way?
Shit. Give it 2 months and I'm mailing myself $20 bills. I'm attracting
The
abundance.
universe, send it to me.
Yeah. But it was a great chat. It was a great chat about,
The
and
universe sends
it was
malaria.
one of the ones that I've started to feel like got most. I don't know, just it had a nice conversational energy. It really felt like it was workshopping ideas, and I guess I started thinking about too how cool it is with some of the podcasts we're doing, some of the ones that you're yet to hear. We've got an absolute banger of a pod coming up for you. Early next week, which I think will be fucking great.
But should have called our podcast like Bees in a Pod or something.
Oh my god, it's
Hotel,
probably
2B, B1,
yeah.
B2, Bees in a Pod.
Instead we call it Suck On It.
Fuck!
I guess we'll suck on that for the next 10 years while some other pricks call their podcast 2 Bees in a Pod.
Yeah.
The
2 Bees in a Pod, whatever. Go on.
No, I can't even... Like, what was it? No. No. It was... Oh, no, that's what it was. Saying, this seems like such a really cool platform. The more I think about, sometimes we're doing this, I'm going, why do we do this? Why is it so important to do a podcast?
Why are we doing
But just exploring why would we do it? And then just realising, I guess, that it's a platform. I feel like it's this place that I get to go, these are our cool weird friends. You guys should all fucking hear who they are too.
It's a launch platform for our ideas rocket.
This is Ideas Rocket to ground control. Yeah.
No, that's a good point though. The fact that we are blessed with these conversations that these people give us on a daily or weekly basis. Most of the people all of the people we've spoken to, we've had these kind of conversations in the past, and that is the reason why we wanted to do the podcast, because we've gone, man, these people are really interesting, and other people need to hear them make audible excretions with their mouth orifice.
We're like you. We're like those people who just discovered yoga. Oh my god, everyone else has to do this. You've got to try the podcast.
Have you heard of Kundalini?
It's about the fire of the body. Channeling it. Is it spiritual? It's sexual. But is it spiritual as well? Yeah, it's spiritual. But also
Everything
the
spiritual
sex.
is sexual.
That's right. The fire serpent.
Get that checked. Does it burn when you pee? Dude, it burns all the time.
You have achieved mastery in Kundalini. The fire serpent pose.
The fire serpent is within you. Yeah. So, this is our conversation with Annelies, hope you learn a thing or two.
Dig in. And also, if you're interested in her business, it's called Eat the Sun. On Facebook, on Instagram. She runs great workshops and stuff about fermenting goods. So she didn't get a plug-in for her business, but we put a business plug-in.
Yeah.
So follow on, social media heroes.
Yeah. Stick in that business plug. I'm just going to let it go. We can cut stuff.
Yeah, we'll just cut in when we want.
The first one was really quiet. So, like, when Lauren was trying to listen to it through her phone into the car speakers, it was really hard to hear.
I find that also with ads on podcasts, all of a sudden, like, someone will be yelling at you. Yeah.
Prozac, you need it.
Rest. Well, that's why we had to get the proper one for the cafe.
Yeah.
Because it was... we have, the music was fine, and then all of a sudden everyone would get deafened because it's going through Bluetooth speakers.
Yeah.
And the ads would come on there. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
Wondering what we're trying to sort of advertise to in the cafe. So, yeah, had to cape and get that.
It's a learning process, like everything.
The podcast recording.
The podcast recording, uploading, all that stuff. The uploadings happen much more smoothly than I thought it would.
So are you just putting it up, like, I don't know, independently, or are you going to put it on the apps, or like...
That's the idea.
Yeah.
It's
I don't even know the process involved for that.
It's way more... Not technical. There's way more option than I thought.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where if it was simple and there was just one or two people that did it, but we've got the first world problem of choice.
Yeah, decision making.
Yeah, because something about... Well, we wanted to originally just upload it to Facebook, but Facebook doesn't let you upload audio files without video.
Yeah, okay.
Which is why we went, let's go to YouTube, and then just uploading. But you have to obviously have video, so we added the picture of the logo. So it's just our logo for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
And even that was a huge file because it's 3.5 hours of our logo.
Yeah.
So it's still technically video. So what we need technically is a podcast, like a media hosting site, which there's heaps of them. And they're like a hard drive online. So you upload it to them, and then they can automatically go to the podcast app, to iTunes.
Right.
All that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But they're paid, and we're cheap.
Yeah.
I think it'll ultimately be probably a good investment.
Yeah.
We will end up there, but at the moment, it's just waiting to see if we burn out on it. And
Yeah, exactly. It's
not
probably
worth the
good to do a
investment.
few. Yeah.
It's been really cool.
Yeah.
The amount of, like, everyone we've asked to be on has been like, yeah, sure. Even if they're like, I'm nervous about it, but I should probably do it. Which is kind of, it feels like a good thing to be doing.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like even though podcasts are really popular at the moment and they're really taking off, like not many people go, "What's a podcast?"
Yeah, that's true. You
So-
probably come in at a good time.
Yeah,
for
they're
this
really
area.
popular, but no one really does them locally.
No,
in rural
no.
Benalla.
Yeah, and I have to. I'm ashamed to say that like most of my podcasts are American.
Yeah,
Me
me
too.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think.
The Australian
Probably all
accent,
of them.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
All horrible.
I mean, I listen to Hack with Tom Tilley. I guess that's pretty Aussie.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I've never listened to that one. Is that?
It's just I don't listen to it all the time. It's the news Triple J like news targeted at young people, so they like speak cool.
Yeah, right.
But it's still like
hip
slightly
lingo.
sensationalized. So that's like I don't listen to every episode because otherwise I'll just fear everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never go outside again.
Yeah, pretty much.
Those chemtrails.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder why that is. Why we like listen to mainly American stuff? Because I'm sure there is
Social
a lot of
conditioning.
Australian podcasts out there.
Probably, yeah. And I think I guess just depends on the genre. I know there was like a true crime one that got like a lot of publicity, but I never listened to it, so yeah.
I feel like people have this thing where it seems more legit if it's a different accent. Like if it's overseas, it's like, they must know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Whereas the closer you get to home, the more it feels like gossip and just,
Yeah, that's true.
The true crime genre of podcast seems to be this huge, like, niche that I've missed out on.
Really?
I mean, I'm not into crime.
Into doing crime?
I respect the law, you know.
Yeah. Peace, man. We're definitely not hip. The Tom Tilley News Hour. I'm just like, don't break laws, kids. I think, I don't know. It seems to be one that pops up all the time, in like recommended podcasts. But I don't even know what they are. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and they're all different.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and obviously, because I listen to, I've stuck with two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so one of them's My Favorite Murder, which is two hilarious chicks in America that kind of, they really boosted the whole true crime scene. Yeah. And it's the blend of a comedy and murder podcast. And they literally just talk about each of them choose a murder that week and talk about it.
Oh, right.
So it's pretty dark. But I think
I can imagine my mum listening to that.
Dark,
sick
things.
Yeah. But they're I don't know. I just find it interesting because you see a lot about the person. So I would say that their personalities are why they've been so successful. They're doing big tours and stuff now. And then another one that I listened to, I can't even remember the name, but it's with this Canadian producer, and he goes and investigates cold cases in Canada, and he just has this very contemplative and respectful approach to the people who have lost people in their lives, family members, and he's trying to reopen it and find new leads, and most of the time they don't really get anywhere, but it's still amazing the difference he makes in people's lives, just even giving them the time of the day and listening to what they've been through and stuff like that.
And so that's what he records these conversations, and that's the podcast. I hadn't really thought about that element of it. I haven't really listened to it either. I know Loz listens to a lot of the true crime ones, but I just thought it was people talking about true crime stories.
Well, there are a lot of that.
Okay. Or there must be ones that are sort of audiobook style too, right? Where it's more even if it's a real story, that it's kind of...
Yeah, I mean,
more narrative based.
Yeah.
You would think that would be a market that someone would...
There's definitely the investigative. That's a really hard investigative.
At 7 a.m. It's
investigative. You're right.
Yeah. So them trying to find more information and stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but then My Favorite Murder is just them sitting around talking about it. Yeah, and usually reading off a Wikipedia page or something.
Yeah. And you're probably right with it being their personality. People, that seems to be really how you get sort of renown, is doing something familiar with a different twist on it.
Yeah.
Where bringing your quirky personality to something familiar, whereas bringing your quirky personality to something new and unfounded doesn't seem to work. Yeah. No one wants too much newness.
Right.
Too much work.
Okay.
They're either do something new in a traditional way so we can understand the way you're doing it, or do something traditional in a new way so we can
one twist at a time.
It seems to be. It seems to be. Give us something to grasp onto.
Is it just me, or does more women listen to true crime? Talia would dig true crime.
Yeah.
You listen.
This is early in the morning for a launch into generalisation.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what the stats are, but I don't know.
Let's look on Wikipedia.
I mean, within our sphere of reference.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I'm fascinated with it,
just
but
Franco listen to it.
No way.
Yeah.
No, I made him listen to one episode.
You guys are sick.
Oh yeah, but I don't know. Most of the people getting murdered are women, so I don't know why we're so interested in it. But when I was working at BWS and there was no customers, I would just go on news.com because that was the only website we were allowed on. And it was either celebrity stuff, which I'm not that interested in. So I'd look up these horrible stories about murderers and stuff. And
while alone at BWS.
But I just find it interesting, and it's nearly cathartic. Having the conversation about it. Yeah. But there are times when I'm okay, that's enough. I can't listen to 6 episodes in a row.
I think that's probably
five.
Five 5.5 maybe. That's not. Yeah, it's true. I don't know, because wouldn't say I'm averse to it, but I definitely don't seek out true crime stories. Like I can get sucked into them if there's, if Lauren's watching one or listening to one or whatever. I can get sucked into it, but it's not a genre.
Yeah.
I'm just a big scaredy cat.
Maybe the world's too real for us. It's just
the
fact that it's real is just too much to handle. I don't know.
Talia also likes to watch those like supernatural like investigation shows. And not just like Ghost Squad, but like stuff. I don't know if that's the one, but it sounds like one.
It is. Yeah.
But other stuff where, like, what do they call it? Where there's been like a murder, and then they get one of those like telepathic people. Like I'm not, like
come in and go. There's been a murder.
Yeah, there's a murder, but they're really creepy. It's the music, man.
Yeah, they are creepy.
Yeah.
So what do the telepathic people do?
They can't. I don't know. Like again,
is this fiction? Just to be clear.
No, like I mean, it's presented as as documentary. Whether or not it is, I don't know.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Clairvoyance. That's the one I'm looking for.
Yeah.
But and again, it's TV. Who knows? It could all be scripted. But the some of the ones I watch, they are kind of creepy. They are kind of creepy. They're like, I think I'm on a show where there's been a murder. Has there been a murder?
Yeah, well, I mean, horror films that are fake are creepy. So even if these are, even if they were just sensationalized and made up, if you're watching something that you're being told is real, obviously it's going to, you know what I mean? Like if you can buy into a horror movie that is fake and find it creepy, obviously something that has even just a small potential to be real would also be creepy.
Yeah.
The supernatural is strange. Like, I'm really interested in some parts of it, and then other parts of it freak me out.
Yeah, it's a bit much for me, I think. Yeah.
You like your true crime more.
Yeah.
Just real murder.
Just stick to the truth. Well, I don't know. Yeah.
I've never really dabbled in it.
The supernatural.
Dabbled in it.
I haven't yet unwrapped that gift and given it to myself.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the devil's hand grabs you and pulls you in. No, but that's what I mean. Like, I'll do magic, I'll do runes, I'll do sigil stuff. That's an acceptable amount of supernatural. I think I don't like horror film supernatural, which I still don't get that experience of going to a horror movie.
You should have come to see The Nun with us, then you would have got it.
That was pretty funny. Yeah.
That was the best.
Yeah.
We actually saw the lady that was screaming behind us. She came into the cafe the other day and she's like, "Are you guys going to go and see Halloween? Because I'll be there." Yeah. I was like, "Yeah.
We'll go because of you."
Yeah, you're going to be there screaming.
It's a draw card.
Yeah.
We need more people like planted in the audience.
It did really work because afterwards everyone was like, "What did you think of the movie?" And I was like, "I don't know if I can actually objectively critique that movie because it was such an experience just being in there with this person, the blood curdling scream." Just really, it was like a 4D experience.
It really was, yeah.
I still wish we had nun. I wanted, in hindsight, we ended up finding a nun outfit, and we wanted the ushers to walk back down the stairs in the nun outfit, but then I was like, we could have had like, mannequins set up with nuns, like toilets or something.
I was going to say, it might be a bit dangerous having an usher in it because they might get tackled.
Yeah.
Fuck this, and just
our demon.
Start
would
beating
be
them
funny,
with a crucifix.
Yeah. I can't say. I mean, obviously, I'm not looking forward to Halloween, the movie, because I hate horror movies. But like, I understand the draw of The Nun more than I do Halloween.
Why? What do you mean?
Well, the Halloween movie, for me, it's like just a dude walking around killing people in a neighborhood. I don't get the appeal of that.
Close to the true crime.
Yeah, that's right. See, I'm not. But then I get The Nun more because it's like creepy, there's a bit of mystery.
I guess there's that distance from reality. Yeah.
I like to distance myself from reality.
Yeah.
I think people,
as much as possible.
People obviously go to movies for different things. And I think Halloween will probably be superior to The Nun on basis of like story and character, those old things.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
They're optional.
Well, basically, like for horror movies, they kind of are to me.
Yes.
I think some people go to like The Conjuring is one that's really popular because it's got really good characters and really good story and then scary stuff. And I think that's why it's really popular because it's a good movie around it.
Is that what you go for?
No, because I didn't find the stuff in The Conjuring. I feel like I've talked about this on the podcast a lot, but maybe not.
It's just your
like
podcast agenda.
Innately, it innately has to freak me out. Like regardless of the presentation, it has to be something about the thing. Whereas kind of the ghosts and that in The Conjuring just didn't like get me at the subconscious level. So although it's a good movie objectively, I didn't buy into it. Whereas a movie like Mama, which is another ghost film, kind of similar. The style I prefer. Probably less good characters, definitely less story because it doesn't have a lot of story. It's more of just a really short snapshot kind of story. It's not like a real twisting narrative. But the character design and the creature design, that kind of stuff of the scary stuff, it just innately freaks me out a little bit. Yeah. Just like a really subconscious, like the kid inside you. Yeah. And so that movie is really sort of the pinnacle for horror movies for me.
Right.
So it's weird. Like I feel like that's why I feel like I probably enjoyed The Nun because I went to it for a horror movie, and even though I don't think there even was a story, like I really remember all the like jump scares linked together, but I don't actually really remember what was actually propelling the story forwards. There was a murder mystery, someone died, but they kind of didn't seem, there's that nun that died at the start, and they kind of, I think it was mainly leading up to The Conjuring because it was a prequel. But
I'd be able to see so many movies under your like thesis, like something that innately scares you. Everything innately scares me.
Yeah, I was going to say, because even like when I was a kid watching Doctor Who, that used to scare me because like a lot of it was based on things that are normal everyday things, but then they had that like supernatural twist to them, and so that's what freaked me out.
What era of Doctor Who would that be? Not that I'm a real Whovian, but just to...
I mean, I can't say that the old ones like scared me at all. Yeah. I think the first modern season with like
Christopher Eccleston,
shaved head.
Yes, yeah.
Looked like Jake right now. Jake's dressed up.
That's the one that we watched. Yeah. That's the only season of Doctor Who I've ever watched.
I think it was like a lot of the content was a little bit darker. I think they lightened it up a bit then. Yeah. Especially when David Tennant.
The children.
Well, I think, and this is why a lot of Who fans hate us, because that's the one we watched and we really like it, but that's the one that kind of wasn't. That's the ugly duckling of the whole thing. The one because it wasn't as family friendly. Yeah, and I think it was less. What's the word? More serialized, as in the story linked up. Whereas in that one, in traditional Doctor Who, it's more of like the episode of the week. Introduces a conflict, and then they learn a lesson and get over it.
That was like 12 episodes with a through.
To my understanding. Most of my understanding of it comes through Jack, because Jack's a huge Doctor Who person. So I think that's the difference of it. But we were the same, that we watched that one. And the episode with the World War II one with the gas masks.
Thank you. That was fucking scary.
That was so freaky. Yeah.
I was really traumatized by that. Yeah.
Yeah. What is with it? Like gas masks in general are scary, I think.
Yes.
Gas masks help because they grew out of the people's faces in that.
Well, so that's definitely...
They definitely weren't normal. Yeah. Your average gas mask.
But that was like... I remember... I can't remember. I think we watched that with friends, but I remember that... I think we watched it and then we went and ate so many tacos, and I feel like there was so much fear. It was like fear, like oh my god, I got
fear eating.
But the gas masks are creepy. I reckon the connection to World War II. I reckon the muffled voice thing or the breathing kind of thing that goes with gas masks, and the vacant eyes. It's very skull-like.
Yeah,
that is true actually. Yeah. Big eyes with like the respirator thing down below. Yeah.
Big insect kind of.
It is odd though, because gas masks technically are good.
Life
preserving.
Help
you.
Yes.
But we're all scared of them.
Yeah.
It's like me, like being, semi-terrified of hospitals and things. I mean, mind you, so many people go into hospitals and seem to get sick.
Animals are pretty scared of vets.
Yeah.
So
don't send me to that butcher's shop.
Yeah.
I think people, and maybe it is because there are. There's connotations, I guess, with hospitals or whatever. You don't go there when you're well. You know what I mean? That's how I probably feel. If I'm going to hospital, I'm going because I'm not well. There's something up that needs to be, fixed. But
there is the sort of if you get better, you get out of there. It's like you've escaped it. Even then, it's not viewed as like the hospital helped you. It's kind of viewed as...
I think they could make hospitals like just better, like, yeah, are you listening, health industry? So let me tell you how to do your job. But I think they could make them better, more appealing. Some more plants.
Actually, one of Franco's friend's mums is a nurse, but she also does like university lectures and stuff, so she's very intellectual, and she started like putting community gardens in some hospitals and stuff, which is pretty cool. Really cool. So they all have to be like wheelchair accessible and stuff. And obviously like safe because of all the worry about bacteria and stuff. Which I'd never even really considered. Hospital.
Well, I mean, I guess that's why a lot of the whole aesthetic of the hospital is the way it is.
Yeah.
It's not because it's run by like some totalitarian dictator from the future who's like, everything must be white. Building wise. But yeah, like you do feel that way, that it's really like literally sterile. Clinical. And there is a reason, but you just
because they want it to be sterile.
It just feels not great.
Just a splash of colour, a bit of green and blue.
Some artworks at Benalla Hospital.
Like thankfully I haven't been in a while. The last time I went in was when it collapsed on the cricket field.
Oh.
But it was just like, it was one of those stupid
You woke up in the hospital and you got out of there because, hospitals are dangerous.
Where the hell am I?
Fought the orderlies off.
Yeah.
He's fine.
That was weird. That was just, I'd overdone it.
How old were you?
Like 21 or something.
Oh.
You must have really overdone it.
Do you remember the lead up to collapsing?
I remember nothing. No, I do. It was just, I wasn't really collapsed. It was just I couldn't breathe. One of my lungs felt like it was...
Gosh.
Like cactus.
Had you been drinking?
No. No, but I hadn't trained. That was a stupid thing. I hadn't trained all year, and they phoned up and said, "Hey, we need someone to fill in. Will you come and fill in?"
Were you running though? Like, sorry, cricket isn't the highest.
No, but I was bowling. So normally my sum total experience of cricket in the past was field a bit at square leg and come in for a bat at number 11. So there wasn't a lot of game time. Whereas I came back having not trained for one game. And they're like, "Why don't you bowl?" And I bowled about 8 or 10 overs. And then I came into bat at 3 or something. It was when I was batting, I'm like, I can't fucking breathe in one of my lungs.
Gosh.
I reckon...
They're like, that's why you've got 2, Jake. Keep bowling.
It was the side on which I was bowling. So I reckon I've thrown something in my back out. Yeah.
And it had that sort of...
It definitely had a heart attack kind of vibe.
At 21.
The
newspaper articles flash before your eyes.
Yeah, a friend of mine got a injury from dancing, and she had all these like lung infections for years. Really? And then finally, she finally found the right chiropractor for her, and he was like, it's because of your back. Yeah. And he fixed it, and then she didn't get sick as much.
How made that whole thing about chiropractic, that it all comes back to like the spine.
Yeah.
It's I definitely buy into it because I spend my money at the chiropractor. No.
You've invested.
Yeah, I'm invested, but I think it does make sense to me. I mean, I've done zero research into it, but like even just that idea of different signals and things traveling up and down your spine, it would make sense to me that if there's blockages or misalignments, that could, in my pseudoscience brain, that could like muck stuff up.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty vital part of the body, the spine. So like,
can't live without it.
Yeah, exactly. It makes sense that there's flow on from it. Yeah.
I've found really good benefits from chiropractic and that.
I've never been, but I approve of the industry.
Objectively.
Yeah. Right. Well, that makes it even better. You don't have a vested interest. That's right. Yeah. It's a neutral... Yeah.
I've never... The only thing like that I've ever had was I went to an osteopath once.
Yeah.
And it seemed all right. But I don't know, are they conflicting schools?
Oh, I don't know.
Osteopathy and chiropractic, or can they work together? Or because osteopathy is really hands off.
Yeah.
There's very little sort of pushing and pulling involved.
Well, that's the chiropractor I go to. Doesn't do a lot of cracking kind of.
I think that's the misunderstanding. Yeah, is that a lot of chiropractors within the field, their little realm as well are all quite different. Yeah.
There was I hate getting my actual neck cracked. I've only had to do it. I think we did it once to the side or something like that. But most of the time, it's more of a crack. Yeah. My head's been on a funny angle since. Yeah. New perspective on life. But most of it is really gentle, kind of, and just really trying to realign things as opposed to like, we need to snap you back out of this. But it's got me through some pretty awful pain spots. I remember one time I was air drumming, and I just
that's right.
Did a big riff, and then bang, my neck was.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, wasn't there a celebration? Was that the one? Were you like, was that the one you're thinking about?
Maybe it was. Maybe it was.
We like hit the table a couple of times, did like a boom tish.
Yeah.
Just in
and
the air.
Bang.
And just straight away, I was just like, oh, God.
I feel like I come across as a really pathetic human.
Just open
look, I was air drumming and I really hurt my spine.
We all go through it.
Yeah.
Just the rest of us don't
Rock
admit
and
it.
roll, man. But God, I was glad to have had a chiropractor then because and nothing makes you appreciate movement of any part of your body than not having it for a little while.
Totally. Yeah.
Same as when you get a cold or something and you're like, but I'm never gonna eat that again. And then invariably you eat that again. Which is a lovely segue.
Nice.
Into talking about
It only took us half an hour.
But it was a pretty good one.
So what should you eat?
Sorry,
You don't want to get sick.
Well, I'd like to start to work into a conversation about some of what you do. Mm-hmm. Particularly though, you put up a post about that whole nature of dieting and stuff. And I just really liked it because I think particularly on stuff like social media, but on TV and all that sort of stuff, all you ever get bombarded with is stuff about this is what you should eat and you shouldn't eat anything else.
Intermittent fasting.
Someone the other day put up...
I've seen at the moment.
Yeah, I like to put my body in a state of ketosis. I only eat between the hours of 12 and 4. And I'm like, great. And this is a dude who I've seen on social media who has said he'd struggled with weight in the past. So he likes to put his body in this, fat burning zone or whatever. Great, unless you're like me, you can't put on weight to save yourself. Like, it's not one size fits all for everybody, for everything. And I just, I can't remember word for word what you said, but I just sort of thought that's a really good point that it's like...
Was that the gist of the post? I haven't actually seen the post.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess I've had to reconcile things a little bit because entering the fermenting realm, you can kind of go two ways or both. I'm trying to tread the line between both of like health and taste. And primarily my motivation in life is about like the positive, so like food and taste and what I can eat versus I shouldn't be eating this. But yeah, because it started, I guess, when I was running the workshops, the vegetable fermenting workshops, and we would serve like just a simple meal with it. And it was just like rice with some ferments and some veggies. And people would always ask me, do you always eat like this? And like, because it was like healthy, I guess.
Yeah.
And that really opened up my eyes to the fact that people might see me as someone representing some sort of ideology with food or some even ideal of what the perfect human or diet or anything is. Like, and when I was making my mee goreng guiltily, I was like, I really should actually show people that this is okay. Like, and I'm not, it's not as if I have a massive following or anything, but I still wanted it to be up there. Yeah.
And it's important to think about these kind of things early. Like, you might not have a massive following, but you have a following.
Yeah.
And it's better to think about it now than when you've got 1,000 people watching your YouTube.
Yes.
And then suddenly you go, and then you've got about face and, figure that stuff out retroactively.
Yeah.
So I think it's really probably a good like a clever thing to be thinking about that stuff, because I know we never do. We just chuck stuff out there, and then later on, once we get asked the question, we go, "Oh shit."
Yeah, which is interesting, but I guess I don't know. I mean, that's art. Like you can be provocative with it in a way.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just didn't want to be responsible, because I think growing up, like I had a lot of issues around eating and body image and that kind of thing, which is. Yeah, I don't know. So I really didn't want to propel any of that stuff, and I don't like it when people come up to me and they're like, "So will I lose weight if I eat this?"
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'm like not overweight. That I don't want them to see me as like a success story.
You got this way from just eating kimchi every day,
kimchi diet.
but only between the hours of 2 and 4.
Yeah, that's right.
Binge on kimchi and you will lose weight. Yeah, that's a really good point. Do you? I guess it's worth saying that you can sort of, we said to Franco as well when he was on, you can not answer anything you don't want to answer, or even things that you maybe haven't quite thought about yet. If you're like, I have to sit on that for a bit. But do you think, if you had issues with body image and that kind of stuff when you were younger, do you think that propelled you to this side of things? Did that start you interested in it, or is it one of those things where now, being interested in this stuff, you can just sort of retroactively go,
Actually, I don't know. I have to say that this is like I've tried a lot of other diets in the past, and like especially when I was younger and gluten-free diet came out, like I went on that purely because I wanted to lose weight.
Yeah.
It wasn't about the health at all.
Yeah, right.
And I think since, like, because the reason I got into fermenting was my brother brought home like this little milk kefir culture.
Yeah.
And I just really liked the taste. But then I did notice a difference with how I felt. And I think that was probably, like just reflecting back on it now, it was probably one of the first experiences I had of the fact that it makes you feel good versus like it made me lose weight or didn't make me lose weight. And it did open up this world of just, like there's more to life than trying to lose weight.
And did that, was it one of those weird times when you feel like it did sort of align, like that healthy outlook on life? Healthy, not as in healthy as in dieting and that, but healthy as in happy. Did then translate it to sort of what you were trying to achieve when you didn't have the healthy outlook, or did it just take you away from it? I don't know if I'm articulating what I'm saying well. But so do you think that did benefit you? I'm using the word benefit as in weight-wise.
Right.
Because I can't think of a better word than benefit. Or did it just sort of take it out of your sphere? You weren't even thinking about that anymore.
I think it shifted my focus because
that's cool.
I have never been overweight in my life, so it's ridiculous that I was trying to lose weight. It's looking back on that time of life where things were kind of shifting. Like I was just out of school and living on my own, and one of the motivations for me to live on my own was so that I could have complete control over my diet. Yeah, right. Which is like, these are all things that I couldn't even admit to myself at the time. Yeah. It's all just in reflection. But like, there were like the two sides of me. Like I would have these like horrible protein shake things back when I went dumpster diving, and like Aldi would throw out heaps of protein and powder. I'd be like, yep.
I've heard this is good for you.
Yeah. And so I'd drink that and I'd feel absolutely like disgusting on it. Like just the taste was off. Like, probably because it was off. That was
no, it's a lie.
And I would feel sick from it and that kind of thing versus like just a glass of milk kefir, which tasted really great to me and didn't make me feel like absolutely horrible. So I think that it was just kind of a natural progression from there. Yeah. And I probably was a subconscious thing that drew me to wanting to learn how to ferment other things. Yeah.
It was about the way it made you feel rather than some kind of eventual outcome of pursuing this for 20 years or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's definitely good. And it's good that you had sort of enough body awareness, as in, you know, inner body, to feel that it made you feel good? Because I struggle with that. I can know when I'm not feeling good, but I don't readily notice positive benefits.
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
cynics.
Yeah.
I feel like shit.
Yeah. It's like that's why it's so hard to, like, you know what your self-care routine should be, you know.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to keep on top of, because while you're feeling good, you don't seek out those things until it's kind of too late, you know. Yeah. And then you're feeling bad.
Yeah.
And so that's when you either go down the even more bad pattern of life way, or you have, like, you remind yourself that you should be doing all those things that make you feel good.
Yeah. Because it's a real it's a sort of complex one, that good thing, because eating chocolate can be quote unquote good, you know. It is tough that it's sort of, you know, you would like to be able to promote to just go, well, eat what makes you feel good.
Yeah.
That is, I think, the goal. Yeah. But I don't think a lot of people quite yet have the definition in their mind of comfort and escapism versus actual good.
Yeah.
Actual feeling good.
Yeah.
Because I, as an example, like sugar and stuff, I cut out a heap of sugar. Didn't intend to cut all of it out. I just wanted to go down to moderation, and ended up just kind of getting addicted to the idea of cutting sugar out.
Yeah.
Probably, you know, just as bad as being addicted to sugar.
Yeah.
Just addicted to telling everyone I've given up sugar.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily feel better.
Right.
With having, well, I didn't realize.
You just felt superior.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. My ego felt better. But I didn't necessarily realize I felt better. But then if I do eat something, I know I feel shit.
You notice the bad effects way more. I don't.
Yeah. This morning I had there's fucking chocolates that Lauren got for a dance concert, all sitting on the coffee table. And I was really tired when I woke up because we had a huge day yesterday, and I was like, you know what, maybe a sugar rush would be good. I'll just have one chocolate, and now I feel so seedy.
Oh no! Yeah. First thing too. Gosh,
yeah, it was. Well, I'd had some oats and oats and sultanas first, which would have been enough sugar anyway. The sultanas. But I just thought it would be a really good idea. The devil
reached out his cloved hand and was like...
Those favourites. Favourites. And I was like, oh, man.
Which one did you have?
I actually went for the Boost one. Oh. You know, that's not even the best one. It was just...
I feel like that's like marketing, because it makes you feel like you're having like
Boost
a
energy.
for breakfast.
And there's that crunchy bit in the middle that kind of makes you go, it might be a nut. It could be
nut.
Yeah, exactly. It could be something mildly healthy.
Yeah. Was that one of those moments where you're like, I'm going to give in, but I'm not going to give in fully? You know what I mean? I won't have.
It probably was
really
subconsciously.
Nice one. I'll go for the healthy.
Yeah. I should have just gone for something really good. I really like Turkish Delight. I should have just gone Turkish Delight, and then it would have made me feel better, like, you know, mentally.
Yeah.
And so I would have thought it'd help boost me.
Yeah. I was thinking when I was walking the other day. Sorry, you're talking about self-care plans and all that sort of stuff. I was thinking when I was walking, my whole definition recently has changed around like what is good for me, what I sort of need in life, out of life. Like, I'm really having to get better at like sleeping. Like I've always been horrible at going to bed at a reasonable hour, and I still am shit at it.
Yeah.
But just those. It was that, but it was also this like awareness of maybe like the connection between my mind and my body has been like lessened. I was thinking about like I decided to leave my phone in my pocket on my walk because really scary. I've recently got a new phone. It's an iPhone, and every week it buzzes you and tells you on average how much screen time you've had.
Oh gosh.
Fucking terrifying.
It says, get a life, fatty.
What is their motivation for doing that? You would think that they would want you to spend more time, not feel guilty about it.
Yeah, well, maybe someone in Apple has a conscience. It's like, you must escape.
They're putting little things in there.
Well,
or do you get achievements? You spend 100 hours on it.
Get 101 next week to unlock
here's like a little
googly faced emoji. Yeah.
A bit of App Store credit or something.
Yeah.
Well, it was like and I haven't gone back and looked into it because I'm assuming some of the look. This is my justification before I tell you how much it was.
Different.
But it would take into account things like Spotify, so when I'm listening to music, when I wash the dishes, podcasts, etc. But still, it said that last week I averaged 4 hours a day of time where I had actually picked up and operated my phone. And I mean...
do you reckon that counts Spotify and stuff? Wait, is it so it's 4 hours a day, or at some point you spent 8 hours and another day you spent no hours?
It says I averaged 4 hours a day.
Gosh,
which is,
that's a lot.
It's a lot.
That's a big average.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
But the funny...
But it's probably pretty low compared to what some people...
Well, I don't know. I'm not prepared to say that I'm below the average. I think I don't know. But
more than some, less than some, I would imagine,
probably.
I think.
Yeah, whether it was low or high for others, it was horrifying to me.
Yeah.
That
Everyone
I suddenly
go and look.
Yeah.
Go and look now.
I reckon it'd be really interesting if your phone can do it. Have a look at it, because I mean, and then it does give you a breakdown too. I looked at it last week. I didn't look at it this week. But it does give you a bit of a breakdown of, you know, whether it is in... Because, I mean, that takes into account messaging, phone calls, Spotify, blah, blah, blah. But even so, even if it was 2 hours a day, even if it was 1 hour a day, I don't know, of other stuff, of social media. See, my thing is, I get sucked in, as I imagine a lot of people would, with trawling. You know, it's not like yesterday I probably posted maybe 6-7 times on Instagram.
Yeah.
But it was as simple as I'd done a drawing I liked, I snapped a photo, I uploaded it. Then I put my phone down. But there's other times where you just like, you wake up and you're like, oh, I better check this.
Yeah.
For 20 minutes.
Yeah, what are you looking for?
And a fucking...
Acceptance.
Yeah. And a dopamine hit, you know what I mean? Like, they've done studies on that stuff about how it's...
Yeah.
Like... It gives you a hit every time you see a little... And the thing is, it's a genius thing because it's endless.
Yeah.
And they make it... keep scrolling.
They make it fun. Like, I remember the first time I got an iPhone, just the touchscreen thing. It's so satisfying to, like, just scroll through the home screen.
Yeah.
Like, when you think about it, like, we're all obviously, you know, it's old hat now.
Yeah.
But when you think about the first time you used a really good touchscreen
Yeah, totally.
versus the old buttons in a flip phone or something. But
Yeah.
I don't know, because I had to upgrade to a smartphone again because I went for it's probably 6 months with just I bought one of those old. They actually designed for old people. There's like it's like phones with the big buttons.
Yeah.
And they're really hardy. They're like water resistant and shock proof. And
That's
all this
awesome.
kind
You
of stuff.
should drop them in with your teeth.
Yeah. And well, when you go to the toilet, you're like, well, I can drop this in and it won't matter. No problems. Yeah. But I did actually, when I bought it, intend to still be able to use the internet on it because it said it has a little mail program for getting your emails. On a tiny little screen. But it couldn't even connect to the internet. So literally all it could do was send texts, and it didn't have any kind of predictive text or autocorrect or anything like that. It was just sending texts and calls. And at first I was like, shit, I can't check my emails. But after a while, it's just your reality. You check your emails at home.
Yeah.
And then it broke
living
down.
in the 50s.
That checks out. And then it broke down. My phone broke down. It was like not receiving calls anymore, and I stuck it out. And so I ended up getting a smartphone. And I don't really have anything on it to trawl through.
Right.
But I still do check it an awful lot. Like there's no Facebook or anything like that. But I still can really tell that I'm unlocking it just to go, oh yep, no one's texted me.
Yeah.
Just wait, it will it'll let you know if someone's texted you.
Yeah.
It was really revealing on that walk, and it's what kind of started making me think about it, because I went to get my phone out of my pocket and I was like, no, I think I'll just leave it in. I don't need it. It's only half an hour. And then I reckon I went for it maybe 6, 7, 8 times across the walk.
Habit, yeah.
And then it got me thinking about this other thing that I've been thinking about of, like, you know, being aware of what your body is, like, saying to you. And it made me really think that I'm really in a process of rebuilding those lines of communication, basically, between my mind and my body. and part of that being like around anxiety and things that, well, like one of my major anxiety causes is like health problems.
Mm-hmm.
So any little thing that I feel in my body, you know, I can turn that into a symptom kind of thing. So it's like trying to rewire and go, okay, that's just a normal ache or pain. Everybody gets normal aches and pains.
Yeah.
But it did make me consider, you know, is part of this that we're constantly, or I'm constantly, disconnecting from the world around me.
Yeah.
You know, if you disconnect, if you're in Facebook 4 hours a day, that's 4 hours a day where you're just in this screen, where you're not. And I mean, I've heard, you know, those stories about, you know, kids and stuff who like die playing World of Warcraft. You know, because they don't get up, and I know that's kind of like, oh my God, think of the children.
Yeah.
But like, that sort of seems to me to be like the outlying kind of cases. That's like the crazy shit. But the stuff in the middle, and it's not me saying technology's bad or video games are bad. I love video games. I like technology. I think and what I've noticed about myself is we're often too unconscious about what we're actually engaging with.
Yeah.
Like whether we're choosing, okay, I'm now choosing to use my phone, now I'm choosing to get off it, kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah. Do you find that a struggle, or do you find you're able to... I think the social media thing is really like kind of addictive, but does it fit in your life in like a way that you feel like you're kind of in control of it?
No, I'm not in control of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, so it's interesting. I am definitely like a technology addict. Like, and I was, I hate to admit it, but I was full on addicted to a game similar to World of Warcraft. It's called Guild Wars.
This is a safe place.
Yeah.
You can admit these things.
It's just funny because I know like most people looking at me wouldn't put me in that box. But and so like through a lot of high school, I would base my life around being able to play that. Yeah. And it was interesting because it does tie into like lack of sleep as well. And so then I got really tired and then I felt really depressed. And then of course like my only self-soothing kind of thing was to go and play more video games. And so it was a really bad cycle. Yeah. And I know that like, I know my limits with that. Basically, I can't, especially the ones with online platforms where you can talk to people. Yeah. No, can't go anywhere near that. Yeah, right. Yeah, because it's just, it does become too much like a second life that you just want to spend all your time on.
And it's a better one because it looks prettier.
Yeah.
And you can kill monsters.
And you can like swim and jump through jungles and you don't need any fitness.
Yeah, exactly. Where are the downsides? Sorry,
yeah, exactly.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
You were Guild Wars?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever have a healthy relationship with games again, or do you think it's something that's off the table?
I think I'm getting better now because I have things in the real world that keep me here.
That are fulfilling.
Yeah. So that's fine, but I probably just like don't go near it anymore. Yeah.
How long was that period of being addicted to it?
It was off and on, so I'd go through like times of sobriety, I guess. But like, because I think my brother introduced it to me when I was in like grade 8.
Oh, thanks, bro.
Yeah, he created a monster, seriously. And I think it was probably when I was in my first year of gap year that I was like, okay, like I need to choose what life I'm going to live here. So that's like, that's a lot of my formative years, like A, on lack of sleep, and B, just living through a screen. Yeah. So I'm very wary about all of it, and I'm possibly more hyper aware because of it, strangely. But I also know that I lose a lot of hours of the day just, trawling. And, and the reason I'm on social media is actually only because of my business now. I mean, I was always on Instagram, but Facebook and stuff, it was purely because of my business. And I feel like that's, like, opened it up again so that I feel like I've got an excuse to be online. But to counteract that, because I am in the food and health industry, a lot of the Instagram ads are like health related stuff.
Yeah.
So that I started following a whole heap of like body positive accounts. So at least like even if I'm addicted, at least I'm getting some positive messages there. Yeah.
I think there's good. I think there is good stuff to be drawn out of it.
Definitely, yeah.
I think that it has the potential for really beautiful results, kind of thing, like amazing sort of things where you can connect with people and. You know, and in the same way that I think like podcasts and things, it's an exchange. It can be an exchange of ideas and creativity. But it's more. It's that mindless part of it where it's kind of like corporate meditation or something. Like, you know, I'm locked in and I'm looking at adverts, kind of thing. Like, you know, that thing in mindfulness, in meditation, where you lose yourself. I don't think I want to lose myself in the capitalist.
No, it's
meditation.
not the same. Yeah, because So I don't know whether you guys know this about me, but I did the Vipassana course mid-year, which is a 10-day silent meditation.
Wow.
Retreat.
Where was this?
It's in. They're all across Australia, but there's one at Wuriyalok. I think that's the name.
Okay.
It's for 2.5 hours.
Okay.
It's kind of near Yay.
Okay.
Like past there.
Is this the same thing Owen was talking about?
It's probably the same thing
Possibly,
Owen was talking about, but whether it was the same one.
Yeah.
But that was definitely the term he used.
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah.
You can flesh out, because we started this conversation theoretically, and now you can actually give some first-hand experience.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I did it. It was pretty scary, and when I got there, I called Franco to let him know that I'd got there, and he was just like, "Oh, what are you hoping to achieve? Like, what are some goals that you were trying to get out of this?" And I just broke down because I'm like, I don't know why I'm here.
Such a Franco question.
And he's like, okay, maybe don't think about that. Just go and experience it. Because I was like, I honestly don't know exactly why I knew that I needed to do it, but it was like my plan D in trying to get my life together in some way, and I didn't know what was going to happen if I didn't find some sort of peace from it, really. That sounds so dramatic, but it's really how I was feeling. Like, I felt like no matter what I chased in life or achieved, there was no peace or happiness there. So that makes, obviously you lose motivation if you're not sure that when you achieve a goal you're still going to be happy, you know? But it was pretty full on, and so you're allowed to talk to so the thing is, it started probably in the 80s or something, and so they're still using these old videos of this guy just talking. And so anywhere that you go, everyone will see the same videos of this guy just sitting there talking to you. And it's all the same recordings that you'll hear as well during the meditation. And then obviously men and women are separated, and so you'll have a female teacher and a male teacher, and they're essentially your points of contact, and you can arrange to see them for maybe 5 minutes a day and chat to them if you have any questions. Right. But aside from that, it's all silent. But the main thing is, unlike other meditation where you're focusing on your breath and trying to control your breath in some way, it's just observing. So you're not trying to change anything. You're just tuning into the awareness that we all already have of the sensations happening in your body. So there's awareness, that's one of the main things. And the second thing is equanimity to any sensations that you have. So whether you have a negative or a positive sensation, you're trying to just observe it without attaching any emotion to it.
Right.
And that, it was a huge eye-opener for me how reactive I am, and I think most people are. Something will happen and it's neither good or bad, but I attach feeling to it, and that it affects my mood and my day and that kind of thing. So, and there's it's funny that you were saying, Jake, about the being hyper aware of any physical things that happen, because during this time, like, you're sitting for a long period of time, and your body does go through enormous amounts of sensations. And like, I think every single person, because at the end of the last day, they kind of like re-enter you into the normal world a little bit slowly, so you can talk to everyone again for one day. And everyone had a story about how they thought that they were dying. Like, honestly, because the body is so strange, and maybe we are just used to kind of tuning it out a little bit. So like, just sitting with severe pain and realizing that you can come out the other end of it actually 100% fine, like, is quite amazing. And because I guess the whole theory of it is that things like addictions and a lot of depression and anxiety come from a craving and aversion pattern that we all develop. So obviously craving certain sensations and wanting to get away from certain sensations. So it's kind of training you to just observe sensations as they are and realize that sitting still and just observing your sensations, it's nearly overwhelming what you'll experience. Like, they're really, in terms of the height of existence, like, you can just sit there and feel so alive, and so, like, you just experience so much. Like, it nearly, whenever I'm feeling like inadequate about me achieving things and that kind of thing, if I do meditate, it's like it takes the pressure off, because you're like, I am just existing, and this in itself is such a full-on experience. Like, that's pretty cool that I'm alive and I just get to observe this. Like, it really shifts your perspective in that sense. Yeah.
It's just to say, isn't it amazing, that death thing? You know, you said everyone. Now, I have never done like drugs or anything.
Officer.
Yeah. Well, I think it's worthwhile context, you know, to say, like, I haven't done it. But I have had anxiety, and one of the key anxiety, like, experiences I've had is those things when you feel like, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. It seems to be funny in all these different experiences that people have, you know, like what you're describing, this meditation, and everyone had a story where they thought they were going to die. I've heard most people who talk to you about their, you know, transformative drug trip. I had a feeling like I was going to die, or I saw my own death. The anxiety panic of almost dying. It's like, this to me seems to be a central thing that we've got to grapple with. You know, I think underlying most of my fears has been a fear of death, and I really feel like most fears I've ever heard of fit into two categories, like rejection, fear of rejection, or fear of death, one or the other. Yeah, and definitely. Often we hide our fear of death. It's hidden behind fears of rejection, you know. So, but it's interesting to me. This seems like a central part to the human experience. You know, like they used to send people off into the forest, or whatever. You know, to have almost like the dark night of the soul kind of thing, and then to come back and kind of go, okay, so that's what it's like to have this sort of little death kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because, and there's a great line in Fight Club that says, what is it? You have to accept that one day you're going to die, and until you do that, you're useless. And there's a song I've been listening to by Cassie Blanton, which is called Smoke Alarms, and one of the lines in the chorus says, I don't want to give the end away, but we're going to die someday. The whole song is about dying, and basically, what's the big deal? It's going to happen. And another quote I saw the other day was just, you're going to die, so why waste time worrying about it?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in the middle of a process of moving through that. But and it's amazing, I think, the freedom that I feel is kind of on the other side of getting a bit more comfortable with that. I feel like I'm avoiding less things.
Yeah.
The more acceptance I have, starting to even talk about things like what I might like when I die. You Talia and I have been talking about, what would you like for your funeral? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to... And it's not like we're saying, it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels such a logical thing to talk about in a lot of ways.
Totally.
Well, there's a bit of a line like that quote just then of, we're all going to die, so why worry about it?
Yeah.
Quote is, I think people take that attitude, misconstrue it as, why talk about it?
Right.
Well, I'm going to die, so, it doesn't matter. Why even bother about
Shove
it?
it under
should,
the rug.
we should definitely confront it and sort of think about it
Yeah.
and talk about it a little bit. There's a big difference between acknowledging it and worrying about it. It's true that we shouldn't worry about it, but not in a sense of, just forget about it. Because that's when you get this thing of like these sudden experiences of going, oh shit, I am going to die. And I haven't thought about that for the last 26 years.
Yeah.
What's that going to be like?
Yeah. I read a book, they didn't really talk about this in the Vipassana course, but then I read a book, he's actually a Quaker, and but he's called Parker J. Palmer, and he's got this book called A Hidden Wholeness, and it's basically how you find meaning and bring meaning to your work no matter what it is, and how you kind of like reconcile your inner and your outer worlds, and how you bring the two together. But he did have this interesting part where he does talk about meditation, and he describes it as a mini death, like that you are every day just choosing to die, like, and becoming okay with that, because you know, I think our minds and our bodies really like taking action and thinking about the future and doing our best to control it or something, but you really just have to let go when you meditate, and so that really put things into perspective, because it's just interesting finding peace with that.
Hidden Wholeness.
Yeah.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
I love how all these sort of alternative books that have names that would make like marketing people just go, God damn it.
Yeah.
I wish I had thought of that. So effortlessly marketed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
It's just, I guess because it's a sort of complete philosophy. It just names itself kind of thing. Did you have a point about the book or anything?
Only about the Vipassana.
Oh yeah, I was going to say
experience,
back into that too. I was just going to, you said there was the 5 minutes a day where you could like book into, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Did you do that more at the start or the end? Like it was, or a bit of both?
I think I don't know. I think I probably only went 3 times, and it was probably closer to the end.
Yeah, right.
Because I really just wanted to see how it played out. Like, and because there's obviously, so you do, I think it's 10 hours of meditation every day, but at the end of each day, you watch a video of the guy, he's called Goenka, and it's basically a discourse on what you have experienced that day, and it's always very accurate to what kind of emotions and stuff that have come up and what you've been facing. So that was a comforting thing, because you're like, well, at least if I just get through this day, hopefully he'll have something to say about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is just the recorded video.
Yeah.
I really think my ego would kick in. I'd be like, you don't know what I feel. I felt completely different today.
Yeah.
You said I was sad. I was happy. All day.
That's what I
genuinely think I would. It's a real pain.
Article I read. It was very like science and data heavy, so I don't know. Like, I haven't brought all of it with me. but
stored up there in the brain pad.
Yeah, but it was about how, I think it was Buddhist monks are very accurately like measuring the things that are occurring in their brain when they meditate, and they talked about it was like a neuroscientist and a Buddhist monk. It may have even been a Buddhist monk, a former Buddhist monk who had become a neuroscientist.
Wow.
And they were talking about meditation and about the process in these temples, and that is very specific. It's not like you can meditate and sort of fudge the experience and go, oh yeah, I definitely experienced enlightenment. They've actually got very set ways of going, did you feel this? Did you experience blah, blah, blah? because they've spent so much time doing it and quantifying it, these guys who are masters know what the phases that you're going to experience, what your mind is going to go through. So I wonder if that relates into that at all, of like, probably. If you've done it enough times, it's like any sort of like guide. You generally go with a guide who's been on the track before. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't go up Everest with someone who's never been.
No.
So they're going to know a lot of the twists and turns.
Or even my attitude on it just then, he would probably know. He would probably be like, yeah, until about day 3, you'll be like, you'll be rejected. That's okay.
Yeah.
Talk to me again on day 4, and I'll be like, oh my God, I had this experience.
Yeah. And it is actually super interesting that you say that, like, talk to me later about, like, see how you go. Because, so the first, like, I think it's 2.5 days, you're doing, like, you're not actually doing even the full Vipassana meditation. You're training your body and your mind to, like, laying the foundations for the full thing. And so then on the 3rd day, and everyone says that the 3rd day is the hardest, because it is, you learn what the actual full Vipassana meditation is. So, like, up until then, you're kind of like... you're allowed to get up within the meditation times, and you're allowed to move your body a bit more, and all you're doing is focusing on the sensation, like, under your nose. But then the whole Vipassana technique, so the first session that you do, it's 2 hours, and you're not allowed to move, essentially. And, like, they're very, like, good about it. They're like, obviously you're not here to torture yourself, and if you think that you're doing harm to yourself, then yes, move. Yeah. But don't leave the building. And try and limit your movements as much as possible. And you're basically, like, moving your awareness from your head to your toes, from your toes to your head, just, like, going through each body part really specifically. But anyway, like, heaps of people just before that session, like, would go up to the teacher and be like, oh, can I get, like, a backboard, so that, because my back really hurts, can I get that? And they didn't know what was coming in the next 2-hour session, but the teacher was like, oh, come up to me after this one, and you can tell me if you still need it. And most of them were like, no, I don't need it anymore, because it was really, really painful, that 2 hours, and most people had some severe pain in that time. But then as soon as it's done, you get up and you don't have the pain anymore, and it's like, oh, like, my body was just, like, having this massive tantrum. So it is really interesting.
That's totally like the anxiety experience for me. Like, when we went down to Melbourne a few months ago to see Cal. I had a horrible, like, it was great to go and see this friend and stuff. I had a fucking horrible time with anxiety. And it was only on the train trip back up that I really got on top of it, kind of thing. But till that, it was all just, like, management kind of thing. Just like, okay, can I get from here to here? Can I get from here to here? And in the end, I think I put a podcast in my ears. I was basically, when I got on the train to go back home, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fucking make it home. That was, like, what does that even mean? But, like, that was the feeling. I better stick a podcast in my earphones, and maybe that'll get me through, like, 10 minutes. And, like, 2 hours later, I was home. But that is the experience, the anxiety that I feel. And, you know, people saying, don't rush. Because a lot of it is, I hate feeling, I'll get it in meetings, I'll get it on public transport, feeling trapped, like I can't leave, particularly if it doesn't seem socially acceptable to leave, which I think comes from that not wanting to be weird, thus a fear of rejection. You don't want people to think you're weird. So So...
It's way too late.
Exactly. But that's the funny thing. Is that your mind,
I think we
your body wants to get up and leave. It starts getting into that fight or flight. Fuck, I've got to get out of here. And just recently, I've been on some Tibetan medicine stuff and a few other things, and gardening. And it's really reminded me, okay, it's probably nothing going on here. This is probably just a temporary phase passing through.
It will pass.
And I've just got to sit with it for a bit. Like, a lot of people on the internet have said, you know, if you feel like you've got to rush to get out, don't. Walk slow. Even if you're giving up like even if you feel like it's got too much and you need to get out of the situation, don't run out of the situation. Walk slowly.
Yeah.
And that's made a huge difference, kind of thing, realising, okay, if I slow down, one, giving yourself the freedom to fail. That's one I've really tried to go. If I have to get the fuck out of somewhere, I just need to get the fuck out. Yeah. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Giving myself that has been huge in that now, because you know you can leave,
you don't need to.
You don't need to.
Yeah.
It's it's just fascinating to me, all that stuff. And I have said that although it's been shit, it's also felt like such an amazing opportunity in some ways to master some stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Well, it's an amazing opportunity that you are a person that will be open and experience it and try and fix it. And, well, not fix it, but manage, whatever, dig into it and stuff. The really sad thing about that kind of stuff is the sort of people that would deal with that up until they're 80 years old, you know what I mean? And just go, oh, this is just who I am.
Yeah, totally.
You know, I can't go out and do anything.
It's just who I am, and not, that's kind of sad. The thought that there would be people that wouldn't get will have the opportunity, but not maybe the tools.
Yeah. To
treat it like that, to treat it as a learning experience.
Yeah.
That kind of is a real bummer.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's a passing moment thing. You know, that the cliche, the motivational poster of this too shall pass with the big storm and the Tibetan monks standing there and that kind of stuff. I do actually really like that. I think that is something that, it does get overused and maybe people don't always fully comprehend what it's on about. Yeah. And circling back around to Fight Club again, because you mentioned Fight Club before, I feel like that quote and that poster and Fight Club have a lot in common. And Fight Club gets... I mean, have you seen Fight Club?
No, I actually haven't.
You haven't seen Fight Club. You should really watch Fight Club.
Yeah, I should.
But, there's some heavy parts. It's not like necessarily fun. Like, there's some violence and there's some pretty weird stuff. But it really gets this bad reputation as being really nihilistic and negative and...
fascist.
Yeah, and the world's fucked and men are fucked and women are fucked and it's all just... so why bother? So that it can be perceived that way. It can be perceived as the whole, this too shall pass, nothing matters. So let's do drugs and hurt people and not give a shit. Yeah. But I think it's going for the other thing. It's going for the other thing of you will one day die. We're all decomposing matter. Nothing matters in that sense.
No.
So make the most of it.
Yeah, focus on what does matter, in terms of loving others and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think the problem with that movie is presented in a really kind of cynical way because it's not a movie that focuses on the outcome of it. It's not going, look how happy he is now after all this bad stuff's happened. Yeah, it shows you the process. It's
I think it's a very Buddhist kind of film in some ways.
I think so. I think so. While wrapped up in a really un-Buddhist kind of, it's got real electro kind of. Is it the dude from Nine Inch Nails? That one? No, it's the Dust Brothers.
Do the soundtrack.
It's this weird sort of dark techno music, and it's, I don't know, there is some fighting in the movie and stuff, but it'd be really interesting to see what you thought of it. Like, it might be a movie that might take a couple of times to get through. If you sort of, because it can be confronting. Yeah. But I think if you got through it, you could dig into it.
All right.
I think you'd probably.
It's, again, like, that's interesting, isn't it? That it's like people when they say that something, is inappropriate to say, like say in church or something. Oh, that's not very Christian, or that's not very. And yet, my limited reading of the Bible has situations where, Jesus hung out with prostitutes and thieves and things like that. In the same way that we tend to relate, like, Buddhism to quiet places and, like, Zen.
Trees.
And that. It's actually a more important concept in the midst of chaos. You know what I mean? That's when the practice is important.
Being able to treat all of this traffic and customers and people and, unknowns and chaos, being able to treat that as if you are in a little ashram or a hut in the forest is kind of the goal, as opposed to going, screw all of this. Yeah. Technology's bad, people are bad, I'm going to go and live in the woods.
Yeah. And I think they're, like, I'm thankful to all the monks that have gone and sat and meditated all their lives, because with the Vipassana, it used to be a 10-week course, because that was the time that they thought that it took to learn the technique. And finally,
didn't catch on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, 10 days is a big commitment as it is. Yeah, because it's not for profit, so you don't have to pay for the course. So that's like one incentive. But then, I think the 10 days is a massive blockage for heaps of people, because it's like, if you get, in the end, it actually ends up being more like 12, because there's the day that you arrive and the day that you leave are not part of the 10-day course. Yeah. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah, it's really long.
Yeah.
Yeah. And most people would rather go on holidays or something if they get that time.
I guess that's why they don't have to worry about being swamped offering a free course. Because there'd be so many people.
Although you do have to sign up quite in advance.
How many per, do you know, how many people per course?
There's quite a few. I can't tell you off the top of my head. I want to say maybe 20 to 30 of each gender.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It wasn't like 10 people sitting
No.
around.
Yeah, but there's probably different size centers all throughout the world. Yeah.
It is really they are like scientists in that sense, in that scientists live very strange lives. I was thinking about the guys who study. I listened to a talk by, I think he's a primatologist or something, or an anthropologist, but talking about chimps. And he would, you suddenly think, this guy spends most of his time just studying chimps. Just looking at them, taking notes, seeing how they act. That's a bizarre life to live. In the same way that those, and then he's bringing stuff back to the rest of us and saying, hey, look at this, look what I found. This is how it's potentially relevant to you. The same way those monks are off, meditating their whole lives and then going, hey, we think we found this.
Yeah.
But that's the thing I love too, though, is that they would be open to interpretation and amendments like that, going it's 10 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then through, it's not, they haven't come down and gone, this is the doctrine and that's, and this is how it is. I'm sure some people take it that way. And do, but I really like that they, it seems like they're open to the idea that things change.
Yeah, and it was interesting for me because I come from a religious background, and the guy Goenka teaching it does, towards the end, go a little bit I know they say Buddhism isn't a religion, but he did go quite religious.
Yeah.
And I found myself being feeling like I somehow had to commit my life to this technique and stuff. And so that's when I did go and see the teacher.
Yeah.
And I was like, so if I want to
where can I buy the t-shirt?
Yeah. Where do I sign? No, I was kind of well, I want to continue my life the way that it is. I just want to be more mindful in it, essentially. To gain benefits out of this, do I have to be so rigid? And she was like, no, the life of a meditator just means that you are mindful in everything that you do. You might go and do what he recommends and meditate 2 hours every day. Or you might just not and find something that fits for you. And so to me, that was really interesting that she was kind of putting a balancing factor on it.
Yeah.
Because obviously the video probably is a little bit dated by now,
True.
Really.
Yeah.
And they've realised how many people from heaps of different walks of life are drawn to these courses, and that they don't want to close it off to anyone, really. Yeah.
So what is it if it's not a religion, Buddhism? Sorry, I've heard people say that it's not a religion.
They only say that because there's not a God?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's still a belief. So and there was a lot of talk about enlightenment in the Vipassana, which I don't find helpful because it's too goal oriented for me.
Yeah.
And so then I start to just feel shit about myself because I haven't achieved enlightenment, which makes me not want to meditate at all,
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of. I feel like, was it Franco that I was talking about this as well? Talking about happiness is the word that I kind of had that moment when I suddenly started thinking about trying to achieve happiness. I think is not a bad thing, but my mind was off on what happiness was, and I was misconstruing it as elation and euphoria, and that is the the goal you're looking for is
Yeah.
how can I feel that all the time, like what you feel when you're out, you know, with your friends and you've got nothing on, and you know, it's that sort of. But it's more about the feeling of contentment, regardless of what's happening. And I feel like this is probably the same with enlightenment. It's not a state that you reach and then you're there. You've got that. You're enlightened, and nothing will ever bother you again.
Yeah. No. I think it's probably just learning a different truth, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
And sorry, I've got to go and turn the coffee machine on in a moment. But I did have a question before. Did you? I feel like we got way off track. I feel like you had a point.
Yeah, I was going to bring it back.
Not that we. It was our fault. It's always our fault. Not that we want to. Not that we want to like, you know, restrict the conversation. But specifically to do with the business and that kind of stuff.
And I think I was talking, about social media as well.
Yes.
Yeah. So
we found our way back.
Yeah. So, like, after that, because your mind-body connection, I think probably Vipassana's a little bit heady more than body, but you are still, like, so aware of what is happening in your body at all times that, like, as when I got back and even listening to, it all comes back, I was listening to, like, true kind of podcasts and stuff, and I could notice the sensations that my body felt from listening to things with quite dark content and stuff. And like I could feel like, so when I was looking through Instagram, it wasn't just like a little zombie mode. I could feel I was much more in tune with the physical and emotional reactions that I had when I was scrolling through. Now that's like definitely faded because I haven't kept up my practice very well. So, but it's still like good to know. It's good awareness to have. And it's interesting that we've been talking about death as well, because I was thinking about, I was following those body positivity accounts on Instagram, and they're very much like, eat what you want, like, just basically fuck any diet kind of thing. And I'm always like, well, like, there's value to be had in good health, and like, maybe we shouldn't be teaching people to eat really unhealthily and stuff. But then I did come back to the idea, it's like, well, what are we all running from? It's basically, death. And then I found it interesting that you said rejection as well, because that's definitely the other element. Like, I guess at the end of the day, like, if it's impeding on your daily life, then you can have unhealthy eating habits, but if it's just driven by a fear of early death or something like that, then it's actually probably not that helpful, and it's not fulfilling you in any way. Yeah. If you like desperately want to be like an extreme sports athlete or something, you probably and you know, if you can't do that because of the way you eat and you're incredibly overweight, like, that's when it kind of starts to go. But I mean, it's still goal orientated, but. You know, that would be an example of when, well, maybe you should look at, you know, if you want to achieve this thing, then start looking at those things. But it's true. I feel like a lot of us are, even people that eat well and, you know, exercise and all that kind of stuff, still super unaware of why. What is making us do that? You know, why do we feel this need to cut out sugar or cut out this or add this? And it is, I guess, just that fear of...
Or you fucking stress about
early death.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You eat well and you're still stressed.
You're stressed about eating well, and you're like,
Jesus, you know, I probably shouldn't have eaten this. I probably shouldn't have eaten
Oh my God, 2 grams of sugar. Oh
and
my
then
God.
It's like, well, it doesn't matter what you eat. You're still going to feel like shit because you're anxious all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
But we're terrified of death, I think, as a culture.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we get free. I 100%, 99%, I'll leave room for doubt. But I don't understand why we don't have voluntary euthanasia in this country. I think if you're ready to die, you should be able to die. We do it for animals. Why do we not do it for humans? And even beyond that, you know, I think if you're not doing any harm to anybody else via the way you live your life, you know, but we are so afraid of death, and we try and make people cling to life at all costs. It's like, oh well, God, you know, you do you want to die? That's the worst imaginable fate that we all happen to share.
Yeah.
It's going to happen.
I feel like the fear of death is often misconstrued with being enamored with youth.
Yeah.
That's what people more likely say. Oh, we're so youth obsessed with our plastic surgery and all that kind of stuff. But it kind of does come off that way. But I don't think it's running towards youth. I think it's running away from death.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thus the opposite end of death would be youth.
Sorry.
I was also going to say, I think like I feel, and this is only something I've sort of come across over the last couple of years, that most people deal with some kind of borderline body dysmorphia / self-image, almost like disorder of feeling that way, that you sort of, you think it's extreme cases, except you. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how I always was. I was like, I'm the one person that's relatively normal, quote unquote. This is just because this is how I felt. This is not what I think, but this is like what my inner life was essentially saying, was that people are like either really skinny and they feel like they want to put on weight, or they're really fat and they want to lose weight, and everyone else in the middle is kind of fine except me. I'm kind of in the middle and I feel bad about it. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't fully, for some reason, it took me ages to be fully aware that everyone's just dealing with that for some reason, and I don't know why. Do you think that's that youth/death thing, or do you think it's hugely, like, I kind of feel like you can't discount the way media is, the saturation of that kind of stuff in this day and age?
Oh, totally, yeah. But I think that probably comes to the rejection thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would hazard to say that most advertising is based on either death or rejection motivation kind of stuff. Like,
well, isn't selling a product, identifying a need, and if you can't identify a need, you create one?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In people, like, it's funny, your point in saying that, like, if you, it made me think about how, like, it was only maybe within the last 12 months that I really accepted, I have a problem here. With my anxiety. Everyone has some anxieties. I have an issue in that it became aware to me when people would invite me somewhere, and my instant thought was, fuck, how am I going to manage that? Like, how am I going to get through that? Going out, being in that. Realising, okay, as in, you normalise it within yourself. You go, I have a normal level of anxiety. Yeah, everyone feels like this. And then you kind of go, no, not everyone considers whether or not they can go to the cinema or on a car trip to Melbourne. That's not everybody's reality.
But probably surprisingly more than you would think.
Yeah.
Like, I think that not everyone feels the same, and it's not necessarily... Well, just because everyone feels it doesn't make it okay, I guess, is the point. That there probably is people that are dealing with the same level of anxiety as you, maybe not the same stuff, but that doesn't make it, well, we're all dealing with anxiety, so let's all just suck it up and deal with it. That it's still, you can have both of those things. You can accept that we all feel it, and you can want to change it a little bit. You can want to deal with it. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not shaming people for saying having anxiety and saying, we'll just get over it.
There's that thing where you want to normalise it in yourself, where you just go, well, it's not me. I couldn't have an anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
I've never, and then
I'm semi-functional.
Then you realise you do. It's kind of, and it grows kind of around you until the point where it gets to that. I'm glad that I've had, like, Mum has spoken to me about her anxiety experiences, particularly. That stuff, relating how that feels. Yeah. To have those, because I was able to go, okay, I'm starting to feel like that. This is now something I really need to deal with head on. I can't just manage it or ignore it. I need to really think about it. And put some steps into place.
Yeah, well, I guess that whole, what did they say, knowing is, or admitting it is half, admitting you have a problem is half the solution or something. It definitely helps to be aware of it. But it doesn't help completely.
No.
You don't suddenly go, oh, I'm okay now, but you feel that way for a bit.
Yeah.
When you do acknowledge it, you kind of go, it's over.
I always find it interesting, for lack of a better word, the breaking point for people, where people will say, like, oh, I just got diagnosed with depression, but I've probably had it for like 10 years.
Yeah.
But what the breaking point was, like what made people realise that it was an actual problem. Because it's nearly like, like if you just ignore it, it'll get worse and worse and worse to a point where it can't be ignored anymore. Like, which it's always horrible, but it's also kind of encouraging that it kind of does come out eventually, you know, like you have to deal with it.
Yeah. I think there's something comforting in it.
Yeah.
It's amazing the amount of shit you'll put up with though.
Yeah.
To avoid that moment.
Yeah,
To
totally.
put that moment off.
Yeah.
Where you even like you don't want to belittle other people's problems somehow by because you kind of go, oh well, you know, I don't know, I've got this, but it's not that bad. Like you were saying, I'm semi-functioning. Like I don't want to take away from people that are actually dealing with this because I'm not really dealing with it. You know, like you just go through all those cycles of trying to like figure out why. Either it's not that bad or it's too bad to deal with.
I've had those thoughts going to the counsellor, you know, when I've...
Taking his time.
Yeah, look, I've probably worked out my issues by now. I'm taking up time, you know, from
I don't
another
deserve
person.
to be here. Yeah.
And it's so funny when you can sort of be aware of those comments going on in your head and you're like, you need to fuck off, head voice.
Yeah.
We're going.
Well, it's the same with body stuff. I think you know, you were saying before, there's no way you should have ever felt like you needed to lose weight and that kind of stuff. But you do sort of, you do that to yourself at the time as well, where you go, well, that you know, I have no right to call myself fat or I have no right to call myself skinny or whatever, when that person is clearly dealing with it more, you know, that somehow you should just get on with it rather than like, because I think you're entitled to feel however you feel. You've got to acknowledge that and kind of go, well, just because I don't have it as extreme as that person, maybe this is more of a sign of some kind of mental imbalance within me that I feel that way. I don't know if that's 100%.
It's alright, we're allowed to play with ideas.
And it's got 100% clarity there, but I know what I feel. I just don't know if I'm expressing it right all the time. I'm going to go and start the machine. Do you want to keep going?
Yeah, I want to pull it back into like the
Then I'll come
fermenting vegetables as opposed to fermenting ideas.
Okay, cool, nice.
But like, so there's a couple of aspects I'm interested in, like the idea of like gut health and that kind of thing. And to a bit of like the history of it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is this... Like, because there's been all that stuff come out, you know, like, it seems like recently, oh, the paleo diet, or this diet, or that diet. Is fermenting stuff a thing that humans have done for a long sort of time? Like, is it...
So, I think it was just a natural progression.
Yeah.
Because most cultures, like, at the moment, like, most people only are really, like, or popular... Like, most people are aware of sauerkraut and kimchi. Like, they're aware that these two things exist. But even then, we've still got something from Europe and we've got something from Asia. Just to, like, make a very general origin story. But I think that in terms of, like, preserving the harvest, it was just a natural progression. So, obviously, sauerkraut was a way of preserving cabbages so that people could eat greens all year round kind of thing. Yeah.
How long does it keep, that sort of stuff?
Well,
like...
in Australia, like, so this is the thing, like, you'll ferment your sauerkraut and then you'll put it in the fridge so that it keeps. And once it's in the fridge, it'll keep, you know, like, years. Yeah. But this is Australia. In Europe, obviously, it's cold, and so they would keep it in cellars for years and years and years. So, like, it was the first... one of the first preservation techniques. And so it is really, I always actually bring this up in my workshops, is that it is an ancient practice of, like, actually it's even safer than eating raw food, like, because it's edible because only the good bacteria have survived and preserved it. So thinking of it as an ancient practice, you're like, well, I don't know how good they were at sterilizing things back in the day. So like, that's pretty encouraging that we don't have to have completely sanitary conditions, you know. So I always bring that up. And then it's always fun to also talk about the products that you get at the supermarket that were probably originally fermented products, like hot sauce, obviously dill pickles were probably fermented first. You know, like there's a whole range of things that you used to achieve that sour taste through fermentation.
Yeah.
And then they figured out pasteurization, so they just started using vinegar instead. But we still, I find it so interesting that, like, no matter your background, most people usually seek some sort of sour food to go in their food. And I kind of think that must be a link to the fact that we're craving the either the probiotics or that good acidity in food. Yeah.
It's interesting how much we're very afraid, and this sort of ties back a little bit into hospital culture and stuff. And I think as time's gone on, we've got further and further away from our connection to nature, kind of thing. Because I think you see that in the way that people are like, fermented food and bacteria and things. It's like, oh God, like I don't want to eat that because it's got, germs in it or something like that. Like, and even being an open-minded kind of person, I know that in myself sometimes, you go, oh, this meat is on the use by date. Should I use it? Like, it looks... We're so kind of precious about everything. That's how I sort of... Do people have some really weird, like, misconceptions?
Yeah, they'll be like, how do I know whether it's any good? Like, whether it's safe to eat? And I'm like... I get it, because we've heard a lot of stuff about botulism and stuff, and that you can't actually taste botulism. I would hazard to say that most times when you get botulism poison, you haven't prepared the meal yourself, or it's through some other preservation technique that has gone wrong. But generally, like, you can actually just taste it. Like, just use your senses, honestly. If it's brown and mushy and looks unappealing, then you're probably not going to want to eat it. Like, and if it has little flies like hanging around, and if there's mold, then no, it's not good. And like, it's just it should. And I do say this, like, it's a living food. If it looks alive, then that's great. Like, alive in the wholesome way, not alive as in like a petri dish of...
Crawling off the
flame. That's the funny thing, though. We're built... I think that people go, there should be an app for that kind of thing. There's that response of, like what you just said, trust your intuition, trust your gut. Gut health. But, like, I think we've moved so far away from that. Trusting your intuition about things, trusting your senses is what you actually said. Sorry. To where an expert should tell me this.
Yeah.
Someone should tell me if this is okay, and then I'll do it.
Yeah.
So that's really nerve-wracking for most people to trust.
Yeah.
That they know.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Because we could get into a whole conversation about advertising and all that sort of stuff, like we just said, creating the need. A lot of people feel that they need to be told what to do and how to do it.
Yeah.
And obviously with things like this, you need that initial instruction back.
But it's even mind-blowing to me that people are even coming to my workshops, because I never went to a workshop. I don't even really know where I learnt. Like, I probably had a general knowledge of sauerkraut because of my German background, but I don't actually remember making sauerkraut with my mum. Like, I probably did just read something off the internet and have a go, and it turned out pretty good, and so just kind of progressed from there.
Didn't die of botulism.
Yeah. Well, not yet.
Fingers crossed.
But it's just... so people come to this workshop, they've paid me money, and literally all I'm doing for them is giving them, like, jars and vegetables. And it's a miracle to me that you don't need anything else to, like, ferment. Well, I mean, you need salt, but, like, there's no starter culture. You can ferment pretty much anything to varying degrees of good taste, but, like, it's such a fascinating thing. And I nearly do see it as, like, empowerment. And there's a lady in Daylesford, Sharon Flynn. She's kind of like, if you want to look at it in terms of competition, it could be a competitive, but I'm nowhere near on her scale. And I'm very grateful for what she's done. And one of her, like, slogans is all about, like, gut democracy. Yeah. So it's like getting to a point where you can actually, like, have agency over what you eat and preparing your food and that kind of thing, and not seeing bacteria as this war, like, because it's just really fascinating to me, like the coincidence of it, the fact that salt, there's bacteria that can't tolerate salt and there's bacteria that can, and just by happenstance the bacteria that can tolerate salt turn food into like this delicious product, like, and they're amazing. Beneficial to us. Yeah. Like, where the heck did that come from? Yeah. Like, it really is amazing. Yeah.
The they were saying in a documentary the other day about the Mongolian Empire, this relates, that one of the key advantages, so they were vastly outnumbered by I can't remember which Chinese dynasty, was it the Jing or that they were going up against, and this documentary was saying that one of the big advantages they had was that their diet was so milk heavy. You know, was because it allowed them, whereas the Chinese diet was so rice heavy. So they had all this extra, like, you know, proteins and things like that in them that allowed them to, you know, more energy for longer. But I remember reading somewhere that like the Mongolians like would drink, was it fermented horse milk?
Yeah.
And that sort of thing. Now, is that an urban myth or is that a real deal?
No, I think that's a real thing. Yeah.
Because I was like, the cops are up. They're exchanging dangerous ideas. But yeah, there was something about, you know, that a bag of horse milk would hang in the door, and you'd give it a whack with a stick when you walk past or something to stir up the cultures in it or whatever. Like, I have never actually had milk kefir.
Right, so they think that might be one of the origins of milk kefir, because there's all this mystery around most of the drinks. So they think, like, no one's ever been able to replicate getting the SCOBY or the milk kefir grains. Like, no one's been able to make that little solid thing again. But they think that's where it came from. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, it's so strange.
Yeah. It's like the Da Vinci Code of fermentation. Where do you get them then?
Well, they've just been passed down.
So it's all come from this one little strain of it?
Yeah, probably. Or like a few maybe, but and they've adapted to different environments as well, obviously. But and the fact that it's been shared and made itself like its way all through different countries and stuff is just so cool. Like, it is like this little connective force. Yeah. But it was funny because I ran the drinks workshop on Saturday night. I just had one lady, like, she's like, so you don't know where this came from? I'm like, no. And she was just like, kept on looking at me and asking more questions. And she's like, so if I just like leave tea and sugar to ferment, will I get a kombucha SCOBY? And I'm like, maybe, but probably not. And she's like, oh.
You just get mold.
Yeah, exactly.
The questions get more and more insistent. Yeah. It's actually from like the health department or something. The sleeper agent.
Where did you get this?
Kombucha SCOBYs are so weird though.
They're like and organs.
And the word SCOBY itself is just so apt for it. It's a gross word.
Said there's a woman in Japan who makes clothing out of it.
Yeah, you can make like vegan leather kind of out of it.
Really?
I don't know exactly how you have to treat it, because obviously if you dry it, then it'll just, I don't know, be a bit hard. But I guess
some I had one that dried out in the fridge, and I wouldn't wear it.
No. But I mean, that's the same with leather. If you just leave it out to dry, it won't be a wearable product.
If it's just, you can just cut it off an animal and then put it in the fridge.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably I can't wear this possum.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I think it's amazing, like, to me, it's the rise of fermentation. Like, seems, it's probably not a coincidence, but, you know, it's sort of alongside this whole kind of growing awareness about gut health and, like, the, you know, gut biome and all that sort of stuff. Just, it seems like another, like, journey into space almost. You know what I mean? Like, oh, we've made the moon landing. You know, there's all this shit that we don't even understand about.
Like the depths of the ocean.
Yeah.
/ the depths of our gut. Yeah.
Like, what are we going to find? Like, we sort of had a very small dabble in this conversation with Franco talking about, you know, like, what's us and what's our gut bacteria kind of thing. You know, there's cultures living within us.
Yeah. Without which we would die. So we don't even really know how we're alive yet, really. Like, we know how our organs work, but there's still, like,
that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you had any, like, amazing sorts of, like, revelations about it? Like, I mean, I've felt like that with just being in the garden recently. I feel like when you're engaged in a process that's so old, like cultivating plants, I'll sometimes just have these, like the little bit of artwork I put the other day on Instagram, because it just sort of came to me while I was gardening and thinking about health and setbacks and kind of going, oh fuck, I wish it was just easy. I wish it was just, you know, you knew what you had to do, you did it, and you achieved the result. And I was thinking, that's a really unhelpful way to look at this. And then in doing the gardening, I came up with these two images, which was one, you know, point A to B with a straight line, which said, and I wrote underneath it, this is not the path. And the next image I drew was this winding, crisscrossing, like looping back on itself and finally getting to point B.
Yeah.
And it was like, this is the path.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of what I want to keep sight of. But I think the gardening really made me think about that. It was like watching these plants and stuff that just grow in bizarre or trying circumstances. And as Jeff Goldblum would say, life finds a way.
Yeah, I love that.
It's what a great movie. I think Jurassic Park is so deep.
Such a good metaphor.
Yeah.
Have you had any like moments like that working with essentially cultures that you've gone, oh fuck, I didn't think of that? And
well, I think, I guess so. I've had different ones. I always have mini revelations, and then they just like subside and I forget about them, and then I'll have another one, you know. Yeah, and I think it's interesting to me the parallels you can draw between how ferments work and how we're obsessed with control and that kind of thing. And people, I think the most challenging thing that people find with my workshops is that they'll ask me a question and I will very, very rarely give them a yes or a no or like a black and white answer, a definitive answer. And that's really challenging for some people.
Yeah.
But it's, to me, my reality, because people will say, well, how much milk do I put in with my milk kefir grains? And I'll say, well, it depends on the weather. It depends how much kefir you want, how sour you like it, how much time you're leaving in between ferments. Like, I'm sorry, but this is your journey. Like, and yeah, like I think we are always looking for things that are static and for hard and fast rules. And this kind of does tie into the diet thing again, because I do go through times when I don't want any ferments, like, and I just have to keep looking after them because other people do. But like, I'll go weeks without drinking milk kefir, and then all of a sudden that is what I crave first thing in the morning. Like, it just isn't a static thing. And to have this like ideal that perfection is just one thing, it's just not true. Like, because once you get there, it'll suddenly change and you need something else for your body. And like, I mean, it's the same. My ferments, like, I can make my kimchi out of the same ingredients. Yes, like the soil conditions would have changed as well, but it will come out quite different, you know, like, who knows why? It's just life. Yeah.
And that's a tough thing whenever you're involved in educating people around something.
Yeah.
Obviously, fairly different things, but without like the filmmaking workshops and all that kind of stuff as well. You do have those moments where you feel like a bit of a fraud or something because people are asking you questions and you're going, well, there's not really a answer to that one. Like, there's lots of answers to that. There's, you know, but you do then have those good moments when you realise that's the point that you were talking about before, empowerment. Yeah. That's the role, especially I feel in workshop scenarios. Not, you know, I'm not necessarily talking about the broader schooling experience at this point, but workshop scenarios. to empower people to make the decisions, to choose for themselves, rather than just say, you will leave here as a qualified screenwriter, or you'll leave here as a qualified, fermentationist. Is that the word?
Fermentologist.
You'll leave with a doctorate in fermentation. That's not necessarily the outcome. The outcome is to give a bit of confidence, to spark the creativity, get people thinking about it and wanting to figure it out, but not necessarily having the 100% black and white answers all the time. Is a reality, and it's not actually a bad thing. But I don't know. I feel like I go through that sometimes, feeling like, oh God, we're just pretending to know what we're doing here.
Maybe I should be able to give you a hard and fast answer.
Yeah, when people come to your workshop and go, so, how do we make money off film? And you're like, well, I'll let you know when we play out.
Yeah, definitely.
You teach it.
That's the answer to all things.
It's really cool, I think, that just that I feel like there is a shift going on. I feel like, maybe people always feel like this. I think even in this town, though, within Benalla, I think there's a shift occurring. I think there's a lot more... There's a lot of people, like younger people, running businesses and things, which I think is really kind of exciting.
It's amazing,
Yeah, I don't know. I
need to open the cafe.
Yeah,
you should keep going, and I might come back up.
Yeah. All right, no worries. I think there's just a sense of growth and change, like this, like Northeast Artisans building. I've spoken to people who said this sort of thing had been tried before in Benalla, and it never took off.
Yeah, so why now?
Yeah, why now? There's all these people, and even this end of town, there's new things being built across the road and that. It feels like there's a bit of life out this end of town. It feels like, but even with, like, just different little cafes like Shen's, down at One Wild Apple, and that you're running these workshops and the gallery gigs and things. I just think there's stuff happening that feels really positive.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Because I think there's always... obviously there's been things here that have been appealing to other people. But it's nice to feel like there's this alternative sort of side of town now that you can sort of get involved in, with sort of more quirky arts and foods and things. But in some ways it feels like there's a real bridge being made. The people who come into the Artisans aren't just quirky kind of weirdos like us. No. It's like people from all sorts of towns.
Yeah, like farmers.
Walks of life who kind of go, oh yeah, this is really cool. I didn't know we had these people around. And
they see it as a positive thing, not a bad thing because it's changed.
Yeah, not a bunch of lefties taking up space. Yeah. And you like to think, and I hope that as this goes on, even hopefully for a long time, like podcasting, that exchanging ideas and stuff builds more understanding between people. Because I think it's really important. I think it's kind of like, I want to draw an analogy here of like gut health of a town kind of thing. All the different cultures that are within a town. Yeah,
definitely.
And trying to get it to happen the right way.
Yeah. I can draw an analogy for you.
Yeah, please do. Yeah.
Because it is interesting. So scientists, our lovely scientists, have tried to isolate what bacteria are beneficial to us. And obviously they've found some are, and that's why they've got probiotic supplements and stuff. But some that they, like, for example, thought that they would prevent obesity in rats. They've tried to isolate those bacteria and repeat the study, but on their own, the bacteria don't act the same way. Yeah. And so it is really very interesting to me that, like, all the bacteria are in relation to each other.
Yeah.
And what makes a stable colony is diversity, not just, you know, tons of the one strain. Yeah, which is, it's just so interesting. And like even, so obviously I have to do markets to sell my kimchi and sauerkraut, and you get a lot of people who wish that markets were just all like the farmers markets and stuff. And then you've got the market like Violet Town, which is obviously just like a big melting pot of anything where someone's just trying to have a go.
Yeah.
And that is a very successful market, and it's been around for a very long time. And you're just kind of like, yeah, okay, so I might not like 50% of the stalls, but I have to be happy with the fact that those stalls are there and bringing people to this market and creating the longevity. Yes, some of the people coming for those stalls might not be interested in my product, but at least they're supporting the wider market, you know, like...
Totally.
Yeah, diversity is a massive thing and I've even thought about this, like, in terms of Franco and I, whether or not we'd stay in Benalla long term and stuff like that. And it's like, well, we don't really know where else we'd go. And you kind of travel around and you go to some communities that are like seem so ideal, and they're all people that kind of have similar ideas to you. And then you're just kind of like, yeah, but is that really a healthy balance? Just being around people that vote the same as you and that kind of thing. Like I think there is a huge value in being around people that disagree with you but still being friends with them, even because you see that at Northeast Artisans. There's people from the whole political spectrum here and they're still managing to kind of get along, you know, most of the time. I think it's quite amazing.
Well, that about hits the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
And I reckon that's a really nice place to leave it. Well, that's a great like way to leave it. The importance of diversity.
Yeah.
Within a culture.
Yeah.
I think we should do a part 2, definitely. But
cool.
I think that's a nice place to end it. Are you happy to end it there?
Yeah, I'm happy to end it there.
Awesome. Really nice talking to you,
Thanks.
Annelies. Cool.
It was fun.